1, 2. Whatever, the show started and I wasn't even ready for it. How you doing, guys? I thought I was just preparing to start the show, and yet, look at that. The show had already started. So there you go. I'm looking down and going, 1, 2, getting ready. And then the show had started. It's going to be that kind of a day. So anyway, hey guys, welcome to Open Mic. I'm John Campea, of course, your host here, where all we do is just take live questions. That's all we're doing. We're just talking about anything and everything we want to talk about. Now, before we get started, I'm going to let you guys know about a little change I'm making. One of the things that we started doing here on Open Mic that I really liked was taking video questions, right? And I really enjoyed taking the video question. I think it's a great addition to what we're doing. And, but I started thinking that, you know, Open Mic is supposed to be about live questions, and these video questions are anything but live questions. So here's what I've decided I'm going to do. And I'm going to start trying doing this come Monday, at least with the John Campea show. But for Open Mic here, I am taking off the video questions and audio questions off of Open Mic. I'm taking those things out. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to start incorporating 2 or 3 video questions into the John Campea show. I just think that naturally is a better fit for those. And that way we can just keep Open Mic. We can just keep Open Mic as open, just taking everybody's questions and all that kind of stuff. And starting Monday, I'm going to start taking some of those video questions on the John Campea show. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 video questions every day on the John Campea show. It just seemed like that's a better fit for it. So for those of you who enjoy the video questions, we are still going to do video questions, but we're going to do them every day on the John Campea show. And we're going to leave Open Mic for just Open Mic, where all of us can come together here and just talk and all that kind of stuff. So now before we get started, I wanted to tell this story. 2 stories, actually, I got. One was from last night, and it was so awkward. Okay, so last night is Valentine's Day, right? So Ann and I, we decide that it would be fun, because we've done this once before, and it was really fun. We decided we were going to go to a painting class together. And it's one of these one-shot things where you go in, the instructors are there, you have some wine, there's a bunch of other couples there, and they tell you how to paint this thing. You end up painting a picture. You're doing paint, you put on the apron, all that kind of stuff. It's actually really nice, and it's actually really fun. So Ann and I go to this place in Burbank to do this paint. And I guess the owner of this place was on Shark's Tank to get this place going, and she got Kevin from Shark Tank to be one of her sponsors, whatever. Anyway, so we're there, and we're hanging out, and we're getting ready to start painting. We're just waiting for all the other couples to arrive. And this one couple comes in, and they kind of look like Ann and I in about 10 years. Like, he was like early to mid 50s, good looking dude, actually. She was a shorter Asian woman, very attractive woman. So they came in, and they sat just a couple seats down from us. There were different rows of tables, right, at this painting class for Valentine's Day. So we're sitting there, and look, we're not trying to eavesdrop, although Anne is notoriously bad for wanting to eavesdrop on people who are around her. She'll deny it, but she totally does. Anyway, we're not trying to eavesdrop or anything, but we're only sitting 2 chairs down from these people. There's nobody in between us. There's like 6 other couples on the other row, but like this couple is just like 2 seats down from us. And what we were able to gather really quickly was, oh my gosh, this is their first date. Not only is it their first date, I think they just met. So there was either some kind of a Tinder hookup or eHarmony or Cupid or, you know, Grindr, whatever it is. They met up on some app and they were having their first date. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I'm thinking, kudos to you, sir. Like, first date on Valentine's Day. That's kind of baller. All right, good for you, sir. Good for you. But so anyway, then we start the painting, right? So we're painting. And I know this has nothing to do, but I just had, I couldn't tell Jonathan this story earlier because he was busy editing, and I've been dying to tell somebody this story, so it's going to be you guys. So anyway, we start painting and everything, right? And we realize that while the couple next to us, they seem to be getting along, but the conversation's really strange. And at some point, it comes out like she mentions to him that she has kids. Okay, that's fine. She has kids. This guy who I said, oh, kudos to you, sir. First date off an app, on Valentine's Day. That's baller. Yeah, he lost all of his cool points because he starts asking her about how she birthed. Oh, you have kids, and he starts asking her about how did you go about birthing your children? And she's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, like, did you natural childbirth? Did you use drugs? Did they do a C-section on you? Like, what was your birthing preference? How did you go about birthing your thing? I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a first date, dude. What are you doing? No wonder you are single on Valentine's Day. Anyway, so, and then that thing just got more awkward there. So Anne and I started feeling a little bit awkward. Anyway, we finished our paintings and all this kind of crap. And Anne was telling me about it afterwards, like, oh my God, it was just so awkward, so dreadfully awkward. And it was dreadfully awkward. So I know that wasn't a big punchline, but I just had to tell somebody that story. It's like, wow. Okay. So, anyway, we've got some questions to get to today. First of all, I'm going to start off with some questions that I didn't get around to answering on the John Campea show earlier this morning. We got 3 of them here. So let's get started with these ones. And these questions come to us from, the first one was Ben Rayner, who wrote, cheesiest but great one-liner from a movie. Mine is from Fast 7, Woman, I Am the Calvary. Yeah, that was a great line. I don't know. I still always go, look, there's a million of them. This is one of those tough questions, Ben, where I'd have to actually want to sit down and think about it for a while. But off the top of my head, I always go back to this one movie from the early 80s, Megaforce. And where the lead hero named Ace, he actually says, life is like a wheel. It all comes around. That to me is one of the cheesiest lines, but it's also great philosophy. So that's the one I'll go with there. Devontae Brown writes, Predator 1 week away from The Nun. Might hurt it. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. To be honest with you, I barely even remember The Nun is coming out, to be honest. Plus, I think, I'm not even sure, like they moved, when does The Nun come out? The Nun release date. The Nun is coming, yeah, so Predator actually moved. The Nun is coming out in July still. But we talked about it on the John Campea show this morning. Predator actually moved into December. So The Nun's not going to affect it. But I highly, highly doubt. Look, I'm not saying The Nun isn't going to make any money. I'm not necessarily saying that. But I don't think The Nun was going to necessarily be a big problem for Predator making its own money. You know what I'm saying? Raw Element writes, watch you every day on a car ride to school. Finally watching live. You wore me down for Patreon after your daily plug. Also, please talk about your World of Warcraft experience. Oh, I have talked a lot about my World of Warcraft experience and what I used to do. I was savagely addicted to that game. Savagely addicted to that game. Like I would bring, like when I would start playing in the morning, I would bring things from the kitchen to my desk that I could make food so I could eat food without having to be, AFK. So I wouldn't have to be away from keyboard. So I could always be at the keyboard. I'd have a loaf of bread there, and I'd have some salami, and I'd have like 2-liter bottles of Coke sitting there. And there were a number of times that I actually used the empty 2-liter bottles of Coke to pee into the bottles of Coke just so I wouldn't have to get up away from my computer to go to the bathroom. I'm not proud of it. Not proud of it. I'm just admitting my flaws. But I played, yeah. So I was an undead mage. So I was on the horde side. And my character's name, one of the names I've always used in my role-playing games and in video games is Rampage. Rampage wasn't available in World of Warcraft, so I took Darth Rampagius. So I was an undead mage named Darth Rampagius. And I played him all the way up to level 70, back when level 70 was the cap. Now you can go higher these days, but that's when I stopped playing. I started picking up World of Warcraft again about 6 months ago, but I decided just to start from scratch with a brand new character. I played for a couple of weeks, but then life got really, really busy. So I haven't picked up again, but I do plan on playing some more World of Warcraft. That is absolutely for sure. All right, with that out of the way, let's now move on to the questions you guys are sending in today. And we get started with Junkari, who writes in, Thoughts on Arnold joining the new Kung Fury movie? I didn't read about that. That must have been new today. Of course, Michael Fassbender is going to be in that full-length feature film, Kung Fury. I think it's a bad idea. I really do. I don't care how cool you may think the short film is. That's great for a short YouTube lark of a video. I don't think this is going to work as a motion picture. I don't think it's going to work. Now, you can be excited about it, and that's cool. And maybe you'll be right, and it'll turn out to be amazing. It might. Sure, it could. I just don't think it will. So, if what you're mentioning, if Arnold has joined that movie, I think it's pretty sad, actually. I think it's pretty sad. Chris Martin writes, if you wanted to, could you go back to Collider if you chose to? Oh, no, I'm not even going to address that question. So, no. Chris Martin wrote, hey, John, I know you loved Hook. I think the sword fight is my favorite part. I mean, there's a lot of things about Hook that are great. That's an underrated movie, man. That is an underrated and underappreciated movie. I love that movie. I think it's sweet and it's magical. And I mean, Robin Williams is fantastic in it. Rufio's fantastic. I mean, Rufio, I love that movie. It's so good. My favorite part, man, I don't know. I think it's just the part between, like, the different parts of Robin Williams talking to his kids and reconnecting with his kids. I mean, there's something really special and sweet about those. And Dustin Hoffman was so great, and the late great. I was just about Bob. Why am I forgetting Bob's last name? Who played Mr. Smee, and he was in Roger Rabbit, and I'm forgetting his name. I feel stupid that I'm freezing out his name. Anyway, I love that movie. Haskell writes, hey, John, good afternoon. I'm not home at the moment, as I'm on my way to see the first Black Panther showing at 7 p.m. Good for you. Super excited, and to think Infinity War is next. Plus, I can't wait to see your review of your live Black Panther spoiler cast on Saturday. Well, first of all, I'm really excited for you that you're going to get to see Black Panther tonight, as I'm sure a bunch of you guys are going to watch Black Panther for the first time tonight. I'm going to go see it for the third time tonight. Ann and I got tickets to see it here in Burbank, and we're going to go watch it with a live audience. It's going to be great. I'm very excited about it. And as Haskell is bringing up, on Saturday at 2 p.m., we're going to do our live spoiler review and interaction about Black Panther. So we're going to do it live. We did that for Star Wars Last Jedi, and it was a lot of fun. It was super engaging, and lots of people had lots of things to say. So we're going to do the same thing for Black Panther, Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully, if you've seen the movie, you'll have a chance to come in and join us for that. So enjoy the movie, Haskell. Make sure you tweet out what you think about it. All right, I Am Blue writes, Box Office Mojo now saying Black Panther 200 million. Wow. Okay. But put an asterisk beside that, I Am Blue. It's not a 200 million opening weekend. It's 200 million opening long weekend. So they're not saying they're projecting Black Panther to hit 200 million opening weekend. It's opening weekend. Its official opening weekend number and its opening weekend 4-day or long weekend number are two different numbers. One will be bigger than the other. But the opening long weekend number does not count as its official opening weekend number. Just the original normal number of days is what it'll count. And it won't go over 200 million for that. But it is getting really out of hand. It's getting huge, and I think people are going to love it. And I think this movie is going to have really great legs. I really do. But yeah, just keep in mind, as you're seeing those numbers thrown around, remember that's long weekend, not regular weekends. The regular weekend is going to be smaller than that. All right. KVK Studios writes, the ultimate intros and motion graphics channel. I guess you just put that in there as a little plug, which is kind of dumb. Curtis Lopez writes, favorite Simpsons episode. I'm torn. Favorite Simpsons episode because, I mean, they've had several like great ones. There's many iconic ones. A couple of the ones that jump to mind is one of the earliest episodes of The Simpsons, which is the one where Bart was going to jump his skateboard across the canyon, and Homer stops him, and Homer ends up going down and falling down the canyon, and then falls out of the ambulance. One of the all-time great TV moments. The other one is an episode that was just on a couple years ago, and it's the one where Homer started pirating movies and showing them in his backyard. Do you guys remember that? That is hilarious, that episode. If you haven't seen that episodes of The Simpsons, I highly recommend you try to go and check it out because it's really good. Curtis also writes, sexiest movie villain in your opinion? I'd have to think about that. I'll tell you one that jumps to mind is Lena Headey in Dredd. Yeah, she was all scarred up and everything in that, but I don't get it's Lena Headey. Of course, from Game of Thrones, obviously, but yeah, I'll go Lena Headey in Dredd. Again, I will probably change my mind after I sit down if I think about it for a while and try to come up with a list, but off the top of my head, that's a really good one. Chris Martin writes, thoughts on the Simpsons movie? I loved it. It seemed to me they really upped the ante with the animation for the series after the film was released. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. To me, the Simpsons movie didn't bring the house down, but it was really enjoyable. I thought if it was talking in terms of a loss or a win, I think the Simpsons movie was a win. I liked it. I liked it a lot, especially when he's whipping the dogs and something happens to him. He's, oh, that was my whipping hand. I mean, there were several really, really good one-liners in it. Overall, I thought it could have been a little bit better, but I thought it was a win. I thought it was a really good one. Curtis writes, do you still read the Injustice comics? I got up to year 4, but I think I haven't read it in a while. No, I didn't. Actually, I read up to season 2, and then I just never got around to keep reading them. Which is weird, because I'm telling you, I still believe year 1 of Injustice Gods Among Us is some of the finest writing in a comic book that I've read in a long time. It's really well fleshed out. The dialogue in it's fantastic. It's just a really smart series. But no, I didn't get past season 2, not because I gave up on it. It's just that, it's what I usually do is I buy the entire year on Comixology and then I just, read it. And I really haven't had a lot of time to do a lot of that. So I will get it back on board. I know Anne has kept up with it and she loves it. So I will try to get back on board with it. Mr. Taylor Sailor writes, love the show, listen daily, gives me something to exercise to. Well, thank you so much. Miss Taylor Sailor, not Mr. Love and appreciate your comments on Pixar's success as a studio. Thoughts on Arteman? I remember seeing and loving Chicken Run when I was 6. It's funny because at Comic-Con I think it was this past year, they had rented out one of the entire storefronts and created a little museum of their stuff. And they can do some very good stuff, and they've done some stuff I haven't loved. But, I mean, Chicken Run was a movie, I really enjoyed Chicken Run. And, it's funny, I can't remember what the context was, but Chicken Run came up, pardon me, Chicken Run came up on the show maybe a couple of weeks ago. And I can't remember what the question was specifically or what the context was specifically. But we were talking about Chicken Run, and it just thinking about it made me grin. I think that was an underappreciated one. And of course, the studio's gone on to do other things, but that one to me is just a special film to me. And I watched it again probably about 3 years ago was the last time I watched it. And I remember enjoying it just as much as the first time I saw it. And I know a bunch of you guys haven't seen Chicken Run yet. Seriously, treat yourself. Watch Chicken Run. It's a delightful little film. Thank you so much for that, Taylor Sailor. KVK writes, logo Easter egg maze, RO, thoughts on trailer. I don't know. Oh, I see what's happening here. KVK, the ultimate intros and motion graphics channel. That's the name. That's your actual channel name. That's your actual username. You weren't just putting in a shameless plug. I apologize. I get it now. So, but I gotta say, Ready Player One logo Easter egg maze R2O thoughts on trailer. I'm not quite sure what any of your question means, other than Ready Player One thoughts on trailer. I like the trailer very much. I'm psyched for this movie. I didn't like the new poster. I thought the new poster was just concept vomit, but I love the trailer. I think the trailer looks dynamic and spectacular. Steven Spielberg's directing it. I can't wait for this movie. And I thought the trailer was dynamite, man. I thought it was just dynamite. Curtis Lopez writes, out of the 3 movies he did, what's the best James Dean movie? Oh... it's hard to go against Rebel Without a Cause. I mean, that's the cheap answer, because that's the first one most people will think of. But I'll go Rebel Without a Cause. As you know, while I'm tempting fate of that sounding like the scapegoat answer, but really, I think that's probably my favorite one of his. Cameron Belgrade writes, what's the best place in Canada to visit? I'm from the U.S. and have never been. Well, I mean, look, Canada's so big and so diverse and so vast. I mean, it really all depends. Are you looking for nature? Are you looking for great metropolitan areas? Are you looking for culture? Are you looking for like modern convenience? Are you looking for... It really all depends. I mean, you can go someplace like very touristy, like a Niagara Falls. If you want nature and touristy, go to Banff and Lake St. Louise up in Alberta and British Columbia and those areas. You want just a great metro experience, go to Toronto. Visit Toronto. I think one of the greatest cities in the world is Toronto. It's New York, except it's clean and nice and safe. I mean, that's just all I know how to define it. Vancouver is also a multicultural, just amazing city with incredible food. And it's just there. I just can't sum it up in one thing. And then the greatest city in the world is Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. About 45 minutes from Toronto. Let's see. Ben Jesua writes, the TV spot of Infinity War, we see Spidey hanging onto some space shuttle of some kind heading off into space. Chances are, or zero chances, that is where he gets the symbiote and takes it back to Earth that leads to Venom. I don't think so. Like, honestly, look, Ben, it's not a bad theory. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's not an impossible theory. But I don't think, and I could be completely wrong about this, I don't think they're looking to tie in Infinity War and the MCU into the Venom movie that tightly, that quickly. Could be wrong about that. And what you're bringing up, it's a stretch, but it fits. I mean, A would lead to B, which would lead to C, which would lead to D. I mean, it's not a ridiculous thought or question, but if I had to put $5 on it, I'm going to go no. I don't think that's what happens. Plus, I don't think he's actually going to end up in space. I'm not really sure. Who knows? It's certainly possible, though, but I would stack the odds against it. So I'm going to go on the side that says, no, I don't think that's what they're going to do. Chris Martin writes, Yoda versus Kylo, make it happen. Campea, call Kathleen Kennedy. No, that's a little too much fan servicing to me. I don't think they'll do that. So I don't think, no, I don't want that. I don't want it. I've got my Yoda fights. You know, it's funny, as somebody who does not like the prequels, I'm one of the few people who defends the Yoda fight scenes in the prequels. I love the Yoda fight scenes in the prequels. I love them. I hate those movies, but I think those scenes are great. I really like those scenes. But no, Force Ghost, Yoda fighting Kylo, not for me. I mean, if you want to see it, that's great. Just not for me. Let's see. Oh, I lost it. Where did I go? Okay, there we go. John Salvi writes, how do uncredited roles work in movies for known actors, i.e. Melissa McCarthy in Central Intelligence? Do they get paid to scale or negotiated salary? Honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure they get paid to appear in the film. Of that, I have no doubt. So they probably just negotiate something quick. Hey, you know, they'll have the agent contact the studio, say, yeah, she'll appear in your movie for this one scene or whatever for X amount of dollars. I feel pretty confident that's probably how they do it. But to be honest, as somebody who's not a member of the Screen Actors Guild or anybody, I can't give a definitive answer to that, so I don't really know. It's an interesting question, but I just don't know. But I'm sure they get paid. Like, I'm pretty sure they get paid, one way or the other. Ben Rayner writes, Battle of the Bastards or Red Wedding? Red Wedding. Battle of the Bastards is great. It's a great episode. It's a great thing, but we've seen better. We've seen better. It's not, but the Red Wedding, as far as pure shock, that's got to be in the top 2 or 3 of any television show or movie ever. I will never forget the Red Wedding. Like, and the reactions that people had, like, if you guys haven't seen them, look up online on YouTube Trust me, it's entertaining. Look up people's reactions to the Red Wedding on YouTube. It is some of the most hilarious shit. It is so funny. But I remember watching it for the first time, and Anne hadn't started watching Game of Thrones yet, right? So I'm home watching Game of Thrones. She comes home a little bit early, and I'm watching it. I'm like, do you mind if I keep watching this? I know you're going to start watching it soon, but do you mind? She goes, no, no, no. And then the Red Wedding happens. And I'm like, oh, what? Huh? And she's like, why is, okay, so some characters, what's the big deal? And I was like, you don't understand. They just like killed 7 main characters in like 1 minute. I just remember losing my mind over it, and people everywhere losing their mind. I don't think anything like that's ever happened on television. I don't think you'll ever be able to replicate that on TV. And so for that reason, I will take Red Wedding over Battle of the Bastards, which was a great battle scene. Yeah. Great episode overall, but it's not like top 5 of its kind all time. You know what I mean? Whereas Red Wedding, I don't know you'll ever be able to replicate that. I don't know if they will ever replicate that. That was just crazy. Sarah O.D. writes, your thoughts about Kitty Pryde movie? Yeah, well, first of all, I have my doubts it's even going to happen. Yes, they got a writer, but many projects, studios start to explore a little bit. They'll hire a writer, see where that goes. It's really just at a very early stage. I have my doubts that'll actually happen. And I don't know that it's a good one to do, to be honest with you. I like the character very much. Will people be running out to watch a Kitty Pryde movie? I'm not so sure. I certainly like the character in the existing X-Men films, but I'm sure they would recast it and probably give it a new backstory because, you know, continuity, schmontinuity. But let's put it this way. I'd be curious about it. I don't think that's actually going to happen. Could be, I mean, definitely could be wrong about that, and it definitely could. It's possible. I just don't even think it's going to happen, to be honest with you. Van Sensei writes, Oh Canada or Star Spangled Banner? Oh Canada, easy. But I'm obviously very biased, so take that with a grain of salt. Chris Martin, this is the greatest show. You rock, Campea. Sing it. Come on. No, I'm not going to sing it. But thank you so much for the comment. I appreciate that. What a great opening to a movie. That musical number. God, I still listen to the soundtrack of The Greatest Showman. I still, like this morning, driving back from the gym, I put on a couple of tracks from The Greatest Showman. I love the music in that movie. I really like the movie. It's wonderful. So thank you so much for that, Chris. I appreciate that. Luis Francisco writes, hello, John. Favorite character ever? Ooh, favorite character ever? Yours is Vader. Favorite character ever? Like out of anything? Like just movies or comic books or television shows? If it's anything, probably Luke Skywalker. Yeah, I'll probably go with Luke Skywalker. And then very close to that, after that, would be Magneto. Magneto is my all-time favorite comic book character. Would be very close to being my overall favorite character, but Luke is definitely my overall favorite character. But Magneto is Eric Lenscher is like one of my all-time favorites. Luis writes, do you think The Rock is in too much lately? Nah. Lots of actors, many times. We've seen it many times. A lot of actors are in sometimes 2, 3, sometimes 4 movies a year. The Rock is going to be in 3 movies this year. Okay. I mean, I don't see how that, look, here's the thing. And I've had a number of people ask me about The Rock is in so much. Are people going to get Rock fatigue? But I constantly bring up, it's like, hey, you know what? Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Well, you're going to watch Clark Gregg 20 times this year. How's that any different? The Rock's going to be in 3 movies. You're going to sit down 20 times this year to watch Clark Gregg. Is I don't know, Daredevil your favorite show? Well, okay, if Daredevil's your favorite show, you're going to watch the actors in that 8 times. 1 year, you're going to sit down and watch them 8 times. Are you getting fatigue of them? So, no, I don't think being in 3 movies, even 4 movies, hell, even 5 in one year is too much. Plus, you also got to understand something. I'm going to look it up here quickly. How old is Dwayne Johnson? Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he's 45 years old, okay? He's 45 years old. Certainly not old by any stretch of the imagination, but Dwayne Johnson knows that part of his whole brand, the part of his whole mystique, if you will, is he is this giant physical specimen. That's part of his charisma. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But he probably knows he can only do that for so long. And so, hey, you know what? Do as many movies as you realistically can that you think are fun and you're going to have a good time doing and make a bunch of money off of. Now's the time to do it. Because you ain't going to be doing these movies in 15 years. It's not like The Rock is 22 years old. He's 45. So how long can he carry that sort of a thing on? Not forever. So, you know what? For the next 5, 6, 7 years, man, more power to you. Do as many as you can. Do as many as you want. Let's see. Ben writes, Prince of Peace, God of War. That's a documentary that I did. Did you try to get Shane Caliborn or Gregory A. Boyd on the movie? Oh! Well, as a matter of fact, let me just make sure it's the right guy, because it's been a bunch of years. Greg Boyd. Yes. I was in talks with Greg Boyd. Yeah, actually, I was in talks with Greg Boyd. I had an interview with him. I don't know who the other guy is, Shane Caliborn. But I was in negotiations with Greg Boyd to have him in it. And I was starting to make my travel arrangements to fly down to Minnesota, which is where he was, to get him in the movie. And they had to back out. Fortunately, before I finalized my travel arrangements. So, I mean, I was really amazingly lucky to get as many great people in it that I did. But he is one of the guys that I looked at. I came this close to having him in there, and then it just kind of fell apart. I wasn't able to do it. Daryl Best Wadley writes, what did you think of Black Lightning this week? Really liked it. I'm telling you, I'm really impressed. Every week I'm getting more and more impressed with Black Lightning. And I love the villain. Tobias. Love him. That scene they had with Tobias and his sister and their father that they found. Fantastic. I mean, I'm eating it up. I'm not going to call it the greatest superhero show of all time. Nothing like that. But I am really happy with this show so far. I'm finding I know I really like a show when I'm watching it week to week and the episode ends and I find myself cursing that it's not bingeable. Like I can't just watch the next episode. And that's what I find myself doing with Black Lightning. The episode ends and I'm like, there's not like 5 more episodes ready to watch like a Netflix series. And so that's how I know that I really like Black Lightning. All right, let's move on now. Trevor Johnson writes, John, the girlfriend wanted to forego romantic Wednesday, Valentine's Day plans to get wings and go to Boston Pizza Black Panther on Saturday. How long should I be waiting to wife her? Well, sounds pretty good. I mean, a girl who just wants to go get wings and go watch Black Panther, that's a girl. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. How long you been dating? You've been dating her for a month? Well, wait another year or two. I had a rule, actually. Not that anybody asked me for this, but here's some my relationship advice. And this has worked out great. I remember when Ann and I were getting serious, I told her, I said, hey, look, just so you know, I've got a rule. I said, I want to live with a person for at least 1 year before I get married to them. I want to live with the person for at least a year. Because you can date all you want. Until you are living under the same roof, you don't really know the other person. So I told her that. And 1 year after, just shortly after our 1 year anniversary of dating, we moved in together. And we lived together for a year, and it was a great year. And 1 year after we moved in together, we got married. So there you go. So don't rush it, but it sounds like you got a winner on your hands, man. Luis Francisco writes, do you know how to play your opening on your guitar? Yes. It's actually, if you listen to it, it's actually a fairly simple opening. It's really not all that complicated. So I think most people who have even like some basic guitar ability, if you actually listen to it, it sounds more impressive than it is. You can actually most people could probably play it. Ben writes, did you see the movie The Grand Seduction, a comedy movie set in Newfoundland with well-known Canadian comic actors that loved it? No, actually, I didn't, and I've never even heard of it. tweet me and let me know what year it came out, because yeah, I've never even heard of it. Now, I thought you were talking about The Grand. I didn't see the last word there, Seduction. The Grand is a great poker movie with Woody Harrelson, which you absolutely should see. It's fantastic. But no, I've never heard of The Grand Seduction, but thanks for putting it on my radar. Chris writes, John, you need to watch the Schmoes Know Show. I know the guys. I don't need to do that. Devontae Brown writes, John, The Nun actually moved to September 7th. I feel it has legs due to being in the Conjuring series, and I'm worried about the Predator's relevance. Now, oh, that's right. Sorry, I was thinking the Predator moved to December. That was incorrect. Predator moved to September, and you're saying Nun moved to September. I did not hear that the Nun had moved to September. I wasn't aware of that. I still don't think there's much. I don't think the audience for Predator has a lot to worry about the Nun. I really don't. I think there's significantly enough differences between them. I don't think they're exclusively going after the same demographic. I really don't see one of, and plus I don't think the Nun is going to be like $100 million opening weekend or anything like that. So I don't see it as much of a problem, to be honest with you. Look, every movie opens against other movies, no matter what. So every movie faces some challenges. I just don't see that the Nun is going to pose a particularly unique set of challenges to Predator as you seem to think there are. I mean, maybe it will, but I think it'll be fine. People are either going to see or not see the Predator. Look, I'm not sure how good the Predator is going to do, period. With or without the Nun there, I'm not sure how good it's going to do. But I don't think the Nun being where it is going to have that much more of a difference than any other major Hollywood film opening up a few weeks from it or within a week of it. So I still don't see there being a big problem for it. But maybe we'll find out I'm wrong. That's been known to happen. Eli the Creative writes, Dragon Ball is Wizard of Oz meets Kung Fu Hustle, and Dragon Ball Z is Man of Steel meets The Raid. I know you don't doubt Dragon Ball Z, but just wanted to tell you that. I appreciate that. You know, here's the thing, though. It never ceases to amaze me that, like, one of the things I always say, hey, it's like, hey, if I like something that you don't, I'm never going to try to talk you into liking it. And if I dislike something that you love, I'm not going to try to talk you into not liking it. I mean, that's great. I mean, I have my opinion, you have yours. That's fantastic. We get to share our thoughts and ideas. But it is crazy to me how many times people who like Dragon Ball Z try to talk me into liking Dragon Ball Z. And it's like, look, dudes, that's great that you like it. I celebrate that you like it. That's awesome that there's something out there the fandom loves so much. That's great. But I just do not share your opinion of it. Which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. You're not going to talk. You can try to say Dragon Ball Z is Man of Steel meets The Raid. No, it's not. I mean, you feel it is. That's great. But you're not going to convince me otherwise. So anyway, there you go. Raymond writes, thoughts on Cobra Kai trailer. I have not seen the Cobra Kai trailer. Is that the one with Daniel LaRusso back again? Is that what they're calling it? Did they call it Cobra Kai? I haven't seen it, so I didn't know they released a trailer for it yet. Spencer Clark writes, since you like Rush, check out Beyond the Lighted Stage if you haven't. Probably my favorite music documentary. Lots of great guests. I have heard of that. I think I've heard of that, but I've never seen that one before. So I didn't realize that was a big a Rush thing. So actually, yeah, I'm actually going to be very interested in checking that one out. Thanks for putting that on my radar, Spencer. Kevin, if I can find Kevin King. Where'd he go? There he goes. Kevin King writes, the failure of video game movies in Hollywood is Hollywood fails to bring the characters we gamers love from the video game screen to the silver screen. I'm not so sure about that. I just think they failed to do it effectively. And here's the problem. With 99% of video games are not made for narrative storytelling. All video games today have narrative storytelling, but and most of them are great for video games, but they're not great for movies. And I think because we enjoy them, we think that it would just automatically translate and be great as a movie too, and that's not necessarily the case. There are some exceptions for sure. I mean, I just did a review for Uncharted 4, which I thought was a fantastic narrative. Like one of the best I've ever seen in a video game. But a lot of people feel like if I love the game and I like the story in the game, that means the story in that game is good enough for a movie. And it's like, you're comparing apples to spaceships. They're two different things. So Look, there are many, 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 many reasons why nobody's been able to crack the code of making a great video game movie. One of the things you're suggesting is certainly probably is one of them, for sure. But I don't think we can just boil it down to one thing, because it's not just one thing. It's a great many things. And, I mean, let's see if Tomb Raider breaks the code. Let's see if Tomb Raider breaks the code. I hope it can. I'm not feeling super hopeful about it, but I do hope it can. Let's see. Kevin then writes, and as you have seen with your review of Uncharted 4, video games deliver great characters in spades. Love you and keep the show up. Well, no, here's the thing though, Kevin. That's one. I've played hundreds of games. And I can only say honestly that maybe 3 or 4 characters I can think of would actually translate well to the big screen. They're great in their medium, but out of the hundreds of games that I've played, and some of you guys have played 500, 600, 700 titles. A lot of you guys have played a lot more games than me. But out of the hundreds that I've played, I can honestly think from a movie perspective, I can only think of 3 or 4 that would actually translate really well inherently to the big screen. So that's probably about 2%. So see, Kevin, what I don't like to do is use the logic of exceptions, saying, hey, this thing happened once, therefore it can happen. Well, if you want to talk about 2 or 3% chance, sure. But no, I still believe that, generally speaking, and this is the way it should be. Video games are made to be great video games. That's what they're designed for. And just because a movie's a great movie doesn't mean you can make a great video game out of it. Movies are made to be movies. Just because a movie's great doesn't mean it'll make a great video game. Just because a video game is great does not mean it'll make a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. And it's very, very rare that you get some characters as well put together, fleshed out, and give them enough arc and story like a Nathan Drake in Uncharted 4. That's the rare exception, which is part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. But I don't think a 1 or 2 or 3% becomes a case statement to say there, it's realistic that it can work. No, you got to get into the 40% range, 50% range, 55% range. Then you can start making arguments like that. You can't base arguments on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% percentile chances. That's not a solid basis for opening up a discussion. You know what I'm saying? So yes, the Uncharted 4 thing is definitely great and definitely one of the exceptions, but it's the exception right now. So anyway, that's just my experience. Your experience may be different, but I'm just giving you my opinion on it right now. Ozzy BOS writes, favorite quest in Witcher 3. I love the Bloody Baron story. It's been a year since I played, a little over a year since I played Witcher 3, and I'm going to get ready to watch the cutscene movie again. I don't even know the name of any of this. I'll be honest with you, I just rode the horse and hacked some shit up. I certainly didn't finish the game. So I'll tell you what, let me get through the cutscene movie and I'll give you some thoughts on that. But it's been over a year since I played, and I played it once, so I can't really answer that. KVK writes, sorry, new to the super chat stuff. Ready Player One has an Easter egg maze in their logo itself. It starts at R and ends in O. Love it. Cheers. Oh, I have not read Ready Player One. I've heard my wife listen to Ready Player One a few times, so I'm not really sure. What the meaning of that is myself, but I'm sure people who've read the books probably instantly know exactly what it is you're talking about, KVK, and they probably identify with it really quickly. So, but it's lost on me right now. For now, it's lost on me. Ben Jesusa writes, Jesusa, there it is. Dang it, John, my last name is Jesusa. I had already corrected you on the show last time. Dude, I get over 100 emails a day. So I'm not always going to remember the proper pronunciations for everybody's name. You're just going to have to grant me some patience and hang in there with me. Old Flicks Joe writes, writer Ed Neumeyer is writing a direct sequel to the original Robocop. I hope this is legit. Robocop versus Terminator movie would be great, I think. Do you? No, I think it sounds like silly nonsense, to be honest with you. It sounds like silly fan pandering service that sounds better as a... I think of that in the same way that I think of, John, what do you think about a Justice League versus Avengers movie? It sounds like a great 12-minute YouTube video. Does not sound like the foundation for a good motion picture. Sounds like a great 12-minute YouTube video. When I think about Robocop versus Terminator, I think great 5-minute YouTube video. It'll get millions of views. As a motion picture, I think it'll come across as a silly fan service pandering kind of thing that I don't think would actually make for a good movie per se. Much like in the veins of Alien versus Predator, was just terrible. So anyway, but hey, I mean, you never know. And I'm certainly not going to poo-poo on, if you got enthusiasm for it, that's awesome. And there are several things. Hey, look, I thought Star Trek Discovery was a terrible idea. I thought that show was going to be just garbage. And you know what? I love it. I love it. So there are often times that we think something's going to be good and it turns out not to be good. There are several times we think something is a bad idea and it turns out to be good. And I'm totally open to calling it. I'm never going to dig my heels in and go, well, I told people I didn't think it was a good idea, so I can't admit that I like it. No, I'll always admit it. I'll always admit, hey man, I thought this thing would be great and it turned out terrible, or I thought that thing would be terrible and I think it turned out great. I'll always be open and honest about that. But right now, my opinion about a Terminator Robocop thing, not so interested. As far as the Robocop sequel goes, again, it's much like the Kitty Pryde thing. Like 80% of scripts that get commissioned and written by studios to get written, and 80% of them never see the light of day. So don't get too excited about it yet. It's certainly newsworthy, but I wouldn't get too excited about it yet. I have doubts that would actually hit the big screen. Adam K writes, how do you know when to be political on your show? Look, I'm not political on my show. I can be quite political on my social media channels. I choose not to be political on my show. However, and this is an important distinction to know, to me, there are some issues that people call political that are not political issues. Equality between people is not a political issue. Anybody who tries to say it's just a political issue is somebody who's just trying to further their own bias. It's not a political issue. It is a human rights issue. It's a humanity issue. People treating each other and people with respect is not a political issue. It is a human decency issue. So when I, see out of the 500 movies this year, 6 of them have a gay character. There's a gay agenda. I'm going to tell you to shut your fucking mouth. All right? Because clearly there's no agenda here. The only one who has an agenda here is you. This is not a political issue. This is a human decency issue. So I will not talk politics on my show. I will talk human decency. I will talk about that. Because human decency is neither Republican nor Democrat. It is neither left nor right. It is neither progressive nor conservative. It is a human decency issue. And I will talk about that stuff very openly. You want to talk about tax reform. You want to talk about, immigration policies. You want to talk about foreign policies. You want to talk about a few things like that. I'm going to stay away from that stuff on my show. Maybe I'll get into it on my social media channels. But this show here is meant to be free of that. But I'm not afraid to engage in issues that I think are just human decency issues. They're not political. The right doesn't have a stranglehold on it. The left doesn't have a stranglehold on it. There is human decency. And I will talk about those issues. But as for the rest, I generally tend to try to stay away from politics. You don't hear me talking about Trump on my show a lot. You don't hear me talking about immigration reform on my show a lot. I don't. But there are issues that I will talk about if I think it warrants it. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I'm not afraid to talk about those things on my show because I believe we all have a core of human decency that we can get at. And anyway, that's just my thought on that. Thus endeth the sermon for the day. Okay. Edgar Navarro writes, how did you come up with your intro song? Oh, it's simple. I purchased it. I bought it. I found a particular piece of music that I liked very much, and I bought the rights to it. It's just that simple. I didn't compose it. I didn't write it. I didn't perform it myself. It's a piece of music that I liked, so I purchased the exhibition rights to that piece of music, the royalty rights to it, And it's just as simple as that. I wish I could tell you a better story. I wish I could tell you like, yeah, me and the Edge from YouTube were hanging out. And, you know, then Eddie Van Halen came down, was hanging out, and we all started jamming around in a session together and came up with this song. I thought, this would be great as my intro music. No such story. I was just looking for a piece of music through some music catalogs, found that one, liked it, paid the price for it. Now it's part of my show. Simple as that. Angel Chang writes, going to D-Box screening for the first time for Black Panther. I have never done a D-Box screening. And so I would love to know your experience with it. I know me, I don't like to fool around too much with a big new movie. Like, I don't like to go to a brand new movie theater for movie. I like to go to a movie theater I really know and trust that I love watching a movie in for a movie I'm really excited about. So that's why tonight I'm going to the AMC Burbank 16. But you got to tell, I've never done the D-Box before. I've heard some good things about it. Let me know what your experience like with that is. Julian Mitchell writes, did you heard the new article about Pascal and Feige when they were in super early Spider-Man talks, and in the first lunch meeting, Pascal drew a sandwich at him and said, get the F out now, wow. Okay, Julian, first thing you need to do, my brother, is when you're typing these out, take a breath, proofread before you hit the send button a little bit, because I might have a difficult time understanding. Okay, did you hear the new article about Pascal and Feige's when they were in early Spider-Man talks, and in the first lunch meeting, Pascal, I think you meant threw a sandwich. I don't think she drew a sandwich at him and said, get out now. No, I haven't heard about that. I haven't read that one. So I don't know how reliable it is. I don't know if that's coming from Variety or if that's coming from Screen Rant. So I don't know it. I haven't heard about it. I'll certainly look into it, though, because that sounds funny. Maximum Effort writes, where did Maximum Effort go? There he is. As someone who dislikes all the CW shows, would you still recommend giving Black Lightning a shot? Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like, who cares what network it comes from, right? A show is a show is a show. They have their own unique showrunners. Although it is true that CW and most networks will have a certain flavor to it. But I would absolutely recommend giving a shot. I can't guarantee you like it, but I think it is worth giving it a shot. Give it a try. It's like restaurants in town that people really like. It's not guaranteed I'll like them, but I'll go if a lot of my friends are talking about it, I'll go give it a shot. If I like it, great. If I don't, fine. So give Black Lightning a shot. I'd say just the first 2 episodes. The first 2 episodes will give you a good sample size. See if you like it, and if it's for you, great. You've found a new show that you like. And if not, no sweat. You've invested about an hour and a half in watching 2 42-minute episodes, and you didn't like it, and you moved on. But I would recommend giving it a shot just to see what you think. Luis writes, have you played Marvel Future Fight? It is awesome. I have not played it. I believe my buddy Ryan has been playing it, though. If I'm thinking of the right game, I believe my buddy Ryan's been playing it. I think he said he really likes it. So I have not given it a shot yet. I don't have a lot of time for television or video games a lot. So when I do, I just have a few that I play. Adam K. writes, have you seen the Fantastic Mr. Fox? I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. I thought it was great. And that's another one where the trailers did nothing for me. Absolutely nothing for me. So lies another great example of just because the trailers aren't necessarily good, that doesn't necessarily mean the movie won't be good, because those trailers did nothing for me, man. So when I did go in to watch it, because I had to review it, I was like quite pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a really, really nice little film. Dura Ma 1. John, have you seen the Black Panther hot toy? It's a must-have. I have. Not in person. I haven't seen it in person. But I believe it was Ann that showed it to me. I think Ann pulled it out and was like, have you seen this? And I'm like, oh my God. At first, I thought it was a photo. That's the thing about some of these hot toys, is that they look so damn good that you think it's a photo at first if you're looking on screen. Then you look close, like, oh my God, it's a hot toy. It does look like a must-have. I might have to order that for me. I might have to order that one. They're so expensive though. They're like $250, $275. That's why I don't have like 40 of them, but that might be one I have to own, to be honest with you. Chris Martin writes, I'm seeing Aladdin in May in Cleveland at Playhouse Square. Thoughts on the musical? Ann and I just went to go see Aladdin at the Pantages in Los Angeles. I don't think it's here anymore, but we went to go watch it, had a really good time. Hamilton is much better. Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, those ones are much better. But I did have a really good time. And if it's the same company, and I think it will be the same company, the dude who plays the genie steals the show. Like every moment he's on stage, it's so freaking entertaining. And hopefully you're going to be getting the same guy. But yeah, I recommend going to see it. I definitely do. And I think you'll have a good time at it as well. KVK writes, this is my fourth try. Ready Player One. Here we go. Ready Player One movie logo itself has a secret maze in it that starts at R in ready and ends at O in one. You may Google it. No, don't worry. Hey, you did a better job the second time around, man. You knocked it out of the park. Don't worry about it. You got it. Again, it's going to be lost on me because I don't really know the significance of it because I'm not somebody who's well-versed in the book. But somebody who is will probably see that and get really excited about it. If it is, that is a clever thing to put into the poster. That's a clever little thing to put into the poster, to be honest with you. I cannot wait to watch this movie, to be honest. I am dying to see this movie. Mostly because it's Steven Spielberg, but especially after this last trailer, man. I think this last trailer was just crazy. And here we go. Last question. Perfect timing. Last question of the day. No more questions, guys, by the way. Maximum Effort. 44T writes, I pre-ordered that Black Panther hot toy as soon as it dropped. Look, if it wasn't so expensive, and if I wasn't trying to run my own business now, and I was still collecting a paycheck from somebody, maybe I would have too. So I don't blame you one little bit. I can't just drop $250 on a whim on a toy, but I might. I'll probably have to, because this is what you have to do in marriage, guys. I will probably talk to my wife, say, hey, what do you think about me dropping $250 of our dollars to buy myself a Black Panther toy? And she'll probably say yes, because she'll probably want it around the house too. But I do not blame you, and kudos to you for getting your hands on that. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. What a show. It started off with this really terrible thing. Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you guys a story to end things off. I shouldn't be telling you this story, but I'm going to tell you this story. So, I had a first. You're going to see this on my YouTube channel tomorrow, but I thought I'd tell you the story anyway because I was just so flabbergasted by it. But I had a first happen to me ever in my career. Happened yesterday. And here was the first experience of this that I've ever had happen to me on this. So, there are often people like losers who say, you get paid to give a review. It's like, no. Or like they're saying Marvel paid you off to say good things about their movie. DC paid you off to say good things about their movie. There's all these, it's never happened. It never could happen and never would happen. But yesterday, this has never happened to me before. I got contacted and asked to review a movie. First of all, I get emails every day. It's particular from smaller independent studios because the major studios know I'm going to review their bigger movies. But I get emails every day from studios about reviewing their smaller films. And I just don't, not because I'm not interested in them, but because you guys probably are not going to watch reviews on movies you've never heard of, right? That's the only reason. So anyway, this company contacts me yesterday and says, we would like to pay you X amount of dollars to review this movie. And it's not an insignificant amount of money either. So I get in touch with them and I'm like, okay, just let's be clear here. You want me to do a review of this movie and you're willing to pay me X amount of dollars to do a review. Said, okay, couple of conditions here. One, I ain't giving you any guarantee I'm going to say I like it. I'm going to give my honest opinion on it. They said, we expect nothing less. We expect nothing less. We're just very, very confident you're going to like this movie. I'm like, okay, cool. I said, number two, I'm going to let my audience know I'm being paid to do this review. I've got to be up for, if I'm ever not honest with, the only thing my audience has with me is knowing that I'm giving my honest opinion. They may think my opinion is shitty sometimes, but at least they know what I'm saying is actually my opinion. And so if I'm going to take money to do a review, even if I'm giving my honest opinion, I've got to let my audience know I'm taking money to do this review. I wouldn't have reviewed this movie otherwise. I got to let my audience know I'm doing that. And they said, absolutely, absolutely. We expect nothing less. We want you to tell your audience you're doing this review. I'm like, okay, as long as we're clear on that I'm just going to tell people what I think about it. And as long as we're clear that I'm going to tell my audience what's up, then I'll take a look at it. So I went and looked at the trailer. It's a documentary called Poop Talk, which I thought, oh God, when I saw the trailer for it, right? And I'm going to put up a video for this tomorrow. But it's what it is. It's a bunch of these celebrities and actors and comedians literally talking about the social stigma about why we as human beings feel so awkward talking about poop. And they've got some doctors in there as well talking about. And I watched, I think about the first hour of it earlier today. And spoiler, I was really enjoying it. But whatever. Anyway, you're going to see me put up a review of that tomorrow. But I did want to tell you a story that for the first time in my career, I actually had a company contact me and say, we want to pay you to do a review of our movie. So, hey, full disclosure, I'm just letting you guys know that's coming. And I'm going to say in the video that I got paid to do this thing. But my review that I give, I'm going to finish watching it probably as soon as I'm done the show. The review I give is going to just be my honest opinion. If I think the movie is crap, no pun intended, because the movie's called Poop Talk, I'm going to tell you I think it's crap. But I will admit, I've watched the first hour of it, and it's really informative. It's really funny because these stories that they're telling, you know what? I'm not going to get into the full review here, but just the crazy thing. It's never happened to me in my career before. It's happened now, and I thought I'd share that with you guys. Anyways, that will do it for me, guys, for this installment of Open Mic. Thanks so much for joining me. Of course, we'll be back again tomorrow morning with the John Campea Show. And also, in about an hour or two, I'm putting up another video today on the top 5 Chadwick Boseman performances. Since Black Panther is opening tonight, I figured it'd be a good time for us to take a look at the best performances Chadwick Boseman, the king himself, T'Challa, the best performances he's ever given us. That video is going up in about an hour or two, so keep your eyes open for that. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks so much for joining me today. My name is John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.